and welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. So today we're going to be doing our What I Watched for the month of August of 2023. So I will start off right now that I believe this list might be a little bit shorter than most. I did watch a couple different things in this month, but I've kind of just been, tired and, doing other things, watching TV shows a little bit. I guess I could start with that a little. So I've been, as I said before, I did want to kind of watch some of Buffy. I did finish the first season of that, and it was okay. It was fine. And I'm on the beginning of the second season. I haven't really been watching it a whole lot because I had a whole other show kind of take over. But I will get back on the Buffy train because I do want to watch it, and it's a horror show, and why the hell not, But what has mostly taken over my life, and I did put a story on Instagram about it, is I have been sucked into the vast pit that is Degrassi: The Next Generation. And I have been watching that for like the rest of this month. I started kind of in the middle or like near the end of August, I guess. Now, for those who don't know, Degrassi: The Next Generation is a show that premiered in 2001. It's a pretty much it's a reboot of a Canadian show that's been around for a long time. And so this show lasted from 2001 to about 2015 or something like that. It was on for 14 seasons. So it's kind of a cornerstone of teen soap operas, if you will. But I have got to the third season at this point. I have been watching some of that. And it's kind of nice because like they're only like 22-minute episodes, so you can get through stuff really quick, which is nice. And depending on how you want to do it, you can sometimes watch them out of order. Although obviously they kind of build on each other. Things happen in other episodes that affect other episodes. So whatever. Anyway, but that's what I've been doing on the TV front. I was also watching like random like things of like, I watched like a couple episodes of Queer as Folk, the old one. That was kind of interesting. And then, just been really weird, like just watching stuff. But anyway, that's what I've been doing on the TV front. And then in movies, I was watching a couple different things this month for the pod and all that. But I also wanted to watch some things that I didn't get around to. So, I'm finally doing that. But we'll start off with the first thing I watched in the month, which was a little movie called Pumpkin from 2002. Now, this movie, it's about a girl named Carolyn, played by Christina Ricci. She's a sorority girl, and her sorority sisters set their sights on the Sorority of the Year award, and coaching challenged athletes is their ticket to the trophy. But when the queen of formals finds herself mentoring Pumpkin, a disabled athlete, their two worlds collide. So for me, this movie, I gave it a 3, and I think it was fine. I'm not exactly sure what this movie is going for, though. It's kind of a weird mix of like, I don't even know, man. Some reviews on Letterboxd have said like that it is sort of like a kind of like a weird like John Waters movie, but not by him, obviously. I don't know, like just it's about people who have mental and physical handicaps. Christina Ricci is pretty much a part of the sorority that is like challenging these or is doing these they're doing these like this coaching for these challenged people, mentally, physically challenged people or whatever. I don't know. I think it was like a watered down John Waters movie or something. It does have the queen of melodrama in it, Brenda Blethyn, who we'll get to her in a minute. But so that was nice. But overall, I mean, I give it a 3. I'd probably give it like a 2.5 or something. I mean, I don't know. It was on Tubi, and I had heard of it, and I wanted to, get around to watching it. But you can take it or leave it, honestly. I'm not like that interested in it, but if you're a Christina Ricci person, go watch it, I guess, right? The next movie I watched after that was actually The Burning from 1981, which is a horror movie of the 80s. This is about a caretaker at a summer camp who was burned in a prank that went wrong. After several years of intensive treatment at the hospital, he's released back to society, albeit missing some social skills. And what follows is a bloody killing spree with the caretaker making his way back to his old stomping ground to confront one of the youths that accidentally burned him. So first and foremost, this movie is a Weinstein movie because it was, made by them pretty much. Wasn't directed by them, but it was I think written by one of them. I think Harvey had the story and Bob and Harvey are a part of it. So ew, gross. But other than that, though, I think it actually is, if you take that out of the equation, it is actually a fairly decent 80s horror movie. It wasn't bad. It has enough cheese in it, but I also think, it does have, a level of, horror, especially for the 80s, that I think is really kind of fun. Tom Savini is in the special effects chair for this, and you got a lot of people early roles for Jason Alexander and Brian Backer from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Holly Hunter is in a little role here. It's a kind of a big thing, so it's cool to be able to see these people in their early roles in the 80s and all that kind of stuff. And I do think it's a decent little movie, and I wanted to get around to it because I thought, why not? So yeah, so definitely give it a watch. It was on Shudder when I watched it. I don't think it might be on there anymore, but if it's still on there, catch it. But you can find it every so often. So I would definitely give it a watch for sure. The next day after that, I watched a little documentary on Netflix. It's called Pamela: A Love Story. This is about Pamela Anderson. It's a documentary kind of chronicling her life, and also it's from her perspective. She talks about things like, the Pam and Tommy series that was on Hulu and what she thought of it. And just kind of her life in general, of course, talking about that whole scandal with the sex tape and everything. And yeah, it's in her own words, through personal video and diaries, Pamela Anderson shares the story of her rise to fame, her rocky romances, and her infamous sex tape scandal. And I just said that I love you, Pamela Anderson. I gave this a 4 stars and I gave it a heart. I think that this movie really, I don't know, it's interesting because she starts off with it and she was married to some guy, and then they divorced throughout the documentary. She ends up getting separated and divorced from him. And then she ends up going and doing Chicago, which is kind of fun. But yeah, I just think this is a really interesting film, and it gives me an appreciation for Pamela Anderson that, not that I didn't have it before, but I think she is, I think she knows exactly what she's doing, and she is completely aware of her own self, and I love her. She's just so cool, and she seems like a good mom to her boys, and just, it makes you feel bad that this whole thing happened with her sex tape, and it makes you not want to watch it ever. Because I'm not gonna lie, I definitely have seen it. Of course, a lot of people have, but now I'm kind of I don't think I want to watch that, because it's just knowing that it hurts her, and it just is really something that's a sore subject for her. But she's had to get over and be able to move past from it, but it's still hard. It's still a sore subject, I feel like, which didn't help that they made that whole TV series and everything, and they didn't come to her about it or anything like that. Nothing. So it's just, anyway. But yeah, I thought it was a decent little documentary, and I enjoyed it. And the next day after that, I watched a little movie that was on, I think it was on Stars at the time, but it is Private Parts from 1997. If you don't know what Private Parts is, this is another movie directed by Betty Thomas, from the Brady Bunch movie, but also it is the life and times of Howard Stern. So it's pretty much his, it's his literal story of how he came to be, from his childhood to his early radio career, and then to around the time where he was, in doing this in 97, I guess. So it's the autobiographical story of Howard Stern, the radio rebel who is also now a TV personality, an author, and a movie star. So yeah, I mean, it was, and he's in it, of course. He plays like, he plays like the young adult slash adult Howard Stern, of course. But yeah, and like Robin's in it, and a couple different people who are in the Stern world. But I don't know. I think I liked it. I gave it a 3.5, and I gave it a little heart. I enjoyed it because I'm not much of a Howard Stern person anyway, but I do like that. I don't know, this movie's really interesting, and Howard Stern, I think, has always been really kind of misunderstood for a long time, and really, I think he's just some, like, radio geek from, New York, and he's just, like, has been able to make a million upon millions of dollars career out of this, but, I think that's so cool, and he also had to go through a lot, too, he's had to go through, I mean, just being what he wanted to be on the radio and being this outlandish person. And it's all, I think a lot of it is all an act, really, especially his early kind of outlandish things. Like it's always been an act. He's a lot more smart than people give him credit for and have given him credit for. So I don't know. I liked it. I really enjoyed that movie, and I thought it was a good watch. It's not for everybody, but I think I enjoyed it, and I liked seeing it. So for sure. Then I watched, back to Brenda Blethyn, I watched a little movie called Secrets and Lies from 1996 because it was on HBO Max. This is a British movie, and it's about, with both of her adopted parents now dead, a black optometrist decides to make contact with her birth mother only to find out that she is white. So that does kind of give away the story, if you will, but it's a Mike Leigh movie. And I gave this a 4 and I gave it a heart. I really liked this movie. I say in my review, this is a Marianne Jean-Baptiste stan account because she's a goddamn great actress. She plays the kind of one of the main roles in this movie. She plays Hortense, and she's the black optometrist, and Brenda Blethyn plays the mom who she finds out is her mom pretty much, Cynthia. And yeah, I just thought it was good. And this movie to me is a messy bitch that lives for drama, and I live for it. Because it is very much it's a drama. I guess you could classify a melodrama sort of, but like, I think it's a really good drama. And I think that, yeah, I don't know. There's something about it I really liked. And it had great actors in it. Like, I think it really brings their A game. Claire Rushbrook is in this movie those of you who don't know, she is from Spice World. She plays Deborah. But also Timothy Spall is in this. He is Peter Pettigrew from the Harry Potter film series, but he does a great dramatic role in this. And yeah, it's just like a really decent movie, and I really liked it. It was on HBO Max, whatever you want to call it. And I had heard of it before, and I found it on Max, and I was like, all right, cool, let me go watch it. And I'm thoroughly happy with it. I think it's very long too. And again, you know how I feel about long movies, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty decent, and I'd probably watch it again, to be honest. Like I maybe not like right away, but I did enjoy it personally. So then the next movie I watched was on Hulu. It's a movie with Emma Thompson, and it's called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. So Nancy Stokes, who is played by Emma Thompson, doesn't know good sex, whether it may be Nancy, a retired school teacher, is pretty much sure she's never had it, but she's determined to finally do something about that. She even has a plan. It involves an anonymous hotel room and a young sex worker who calls himself Leo Grand. So for me, this movie, I gave it a 3 on Letterboxd. To be honest, I might even give it a 2.5, kind of. For me, at least, I like Emma Thompson. I thought the guy who played, Leo Grand, was perfectly good. Daryl McCormick, I thought he was fine. This movie overall, though, I don't know. I see where they're going with it, and there is some cool stuff to that, I guess. It's just about her, trying to have sexual fulfillment and be able to have that. And it's her journey for that. spoiler, I guess the movie ends with her looking at herself naked in a mirror. So you just see naked Emma Thompson, but which is fine. But it's like, yeah, I can see where they're going with it though. But at the end of the day, I didn't love this movie or anything. Again, it's worth a fine watch if you want to, it's, there's some like a little bit of nudity, a little bit, and like it's about like sex in a way and talking about the sex industry and all that kind of stuff. But overall, like I wasn't impressed that much. But it was perfectly okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible, but I mean, whatever you want to do with it. I just, it was perfectly fine. It was a Hulu movie, Then I watched, for the podcast, I watched Night of the Creeps, 1986. I already did an episode on it, but pretty much in 1959, a alien experiment crashes to Earth and infects a fraternity member. They freeze the body, but in the modern day, two geeks pledging a fraternity accidentally thaw the corpse, which proceeds to then infect the campus with parasites that transform their hosts into killer zombies. I mean, I did a whole episode on this, but I love this movie. I gave it a 4 and a heart. I mean, I really enjoy it, and I think it is such a nice homage to these kind of B movies from the 50s, and you can tell that Fred Decker, who's the director of this movie, and he also, I think, wrote it, he's such a fan of this stuff, and I really appreciate that, and it's nice to see that. So I have this on Blu-ray, the little director's cut that they have, and I really enjoy this, especially as a horror fan. I think if you haven't seen Night of the Creeps, like definitely do yourself a favor and watch it. I definitely think it's worth your time and it's enjoyable. The next movie after I watched was, I've referenced it before, but it is on Hulu still, so you can probably still watch it. But it's a documentary called The Orange Years, the Nickelodeon story. This is a journey behind the scenes of the Nickelodeon television network to chronicle its unprecedented success from its humble beginnings as a small local channel to its status as an international phenomenon that helped shape an entire generation of kids. So yeah, I mean, this movie, if you haven't seen it already, it really chronicles just like how this television show or television channel started and just the history of it. So they talk about things like you can't do that on television, which kind of cemented what Nickelodeon would then become. But then also, talking about like, the advent of Double Dare, that show that they made, the game show. But then also just shows like when they started doing like scripted TV, like with Hey Dude, for example, then going into like Clarissa Explains It All and other scripted shows like that. But then also doing like things like the Nicktoons. It's about like an hour and 40 minutes. And I think it's a very good documentary. I gave it a 4, like I said. And, I really like it. And they got a lot of the people who are from the 90s Nickelodeon shows in this documentary. And it's really cool to see, the people who worked on the shows, but also like the executives at Nickelodeon, a lot of the people who were, a part of this. I thought it was dope. And I thought it was great. And be on the lookout, because I am going to do probably some Nickelodeon content in the near future. It will be happening at some point. But yeah, I mean, that's what I watched and highly recommend it. I would watch it if you're a 90s Nickelodeon person or if you're ever interested in that. I do think they should do like a continuation of this, because I'd love to hear more about like some of the other shows that they made, but we'll have to see about that. Then I watched a little movie called, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. So, I mean, the reason for that was I've been talking to someone on Instagram. What's up, Travis McMaster? We've been talking on Instagram just about, being queer and like, my show and all that kind of stuff. Why not? If you DM me on Instagram, I'll probably talk to you. But anyway, so, Travis is a fan of a lot of different movies, and they told me to, they were talking about this movie, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and like, would you watch? Have you seen it? Like, have you covered it in the show, or will you cover it, or any of that kind of stuff? And I'm like, all right. But I was like, okay, well, I'll take your word for it. Like, I'll watch it. Like, why not? I don't have anything against Batman. I haven't really, my history with Batman is I have only really seen some of I think I've seen like the Batman no, wait. I think I saw one of the Christopher Nolan ones. But I mean, goddamn, I don't even remember really, to be honest. And then I watched like Batman and Robin when I was growing up and stuff, but I haven't seen a lot of those other Tim Burton ones. You know what I mean? There's like the weird Joel Schumacher one, and then there's like the Tim Burton ones that he did, things like that. But anyway, so yeah, Mask of the Phantasm though. So this is from Batman the Animated Series. It's kind of what like sort of was like a mid-season, like, almost end of the series, if you will. But yeah, Andrea Beaumont, the story is she strolls back into town, rekindling an old romance with Bruce Wayne. Andrea is played by Dana Delaney, her voice, and then Kevin Conroy, of course, rest in peace. He is Batman. At the same time, Batman is mistaken for a masked vigilante assassin who has begun systematically eliminating Gotham's crime bosses. Now on the run, Batman must solve the mystery while navigating his relationship with Andrea. Yeah, I mean, I liked this movie. I gave it a 3.5. I have it on my list to watch Batman the Animated Series, which is an undertaking to say the least. But I mean, I would probably end up watching it. I mean, out of all of the superheroes or whatever you want to call it, or those types of whatever you want to call it, I guess, comic book people or like whatever. I mean, Batman is kind of like, I feel like is accessible for me, and I could probably end up watching it, but we'll see. I've always been kind of an X-Men person, if you will. I have seen a bunch of those movies and all that, and boo, Bryan Singer, boo, but it's annoying because I'm just like, oh, some of those movies are like kind of okay, and then you think of Bryan Singer and it just makes you sad. But anyway, so whatever. But yeah, Batman Mask of the Phantasm, I thought it was pretty good. Be on the lookout if ever I cover it, so we'll see how that goes. But it was also released on Christmas. That's really fun too. But yeah, I liked it, and I would probably watch other films of it. I would watch other little animated movies. I know that they're out there, but yeah. And so then after that, I watched a little documentary. I was on a documentary kick a little bit. And I watched American Grindhouse from 2010. It was on Tubi, so I decided to watch it. This documentary talks about the hidden history of the American exploitation film. So this digs deep into the often overlooked category of U.S. cinema and unearths the shameless and occasionally shocking origins of this popular entertainment. I didn't have anything really to say about it. I didn't rate it or whatever. But yeah, it was really cool. I mean, if you're an exploitation kind of fan, I mean, I did do, Pink Flamingos, obviously, and I did like Reefer Madness technically is an exploitation film, I guess. But like, I liked finding out more about exploitation as a genre, and I knew some of the stuff anyway, kind of, but it was really interesting to get a different perspective on it as well. So I thought that was kind of cool, and why not? It was something to kind of take in and get some history on that. So yeah, that's part of what I watched. Then I watched a little movie called Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992, because, spoiler, I will be covering that at some point. But this is from Francis Ford Coppola, one of the Coppolas, the kind of big one. And I mean, it's Dracula. Like, so when Dracula leaves the captive Jonathan Harker and Transylvania for London in search of Mina Harker, the reincarnation of Dracula's long dead wife, Elisabetta, obsessed vampire hunter Dr. Van Helsing sets out to end the madness. So I mean, I liked this movie. I gave it a 3.5. I was like very generous with the 3.5s this month, but yeah, I mean, I watched this on YouTube, cause I didn't want to rent it or whatever. I was just like, let me try and get on on the cheap. It's not streaming anywhere, but it'll probably stream in a couple months though. So, be on the lookout for that. But anyway, I liked it though. I mean, like I've seen like the Hispanic, the Mexican version of Dracula. It was on Tubi last year. Watched that, and I'm okay with vampires. It's not my favorite genre, but this one I thought was actually pretty decent, and I would actually really like to see this in like a 4K or something, like higher quality, obviously, because I do think this movie is so fucking weird and crazy, and I can understand why gays like it in a way. But yeah, I mean, it was an experience to say the least. But yeah, so that was that. And then I watched a little movie. Oh God. Like, okay, so this also comes from like a little bit of the Batman, but like not completely though. But I think it was because it was on Tubi and I decided to watch it. But I watched a little movie called Trojan War from 1997. If you don't know what this movie is, it is a movie that stars Will Friedle. That's right. Eric from Boy Meets World. Jennifer Love Hewitt's in this movie as well, which they were actually dating, I think, at the time. This movie also has Marley Shelton in it. It has James Marsden's there for a minute. Eric Balfour's there a little bit. It's just all over the place, man. It's so weird. Like, oh my God. This movie is Brad, played by Will Friedle. He's about to hook up with the girl of his dreams, who is played by Marley Shelton, but he runs into a problem: no condom. So Brad sets out into the night to find one, running into many obstacles along the way, while not knowing his best friend Leah, played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, is in love with him. The classic teen movie, trope, if you will. I will say in my note, I gave this a 2.5. I also gave it a heart because I'm a sucker for Will Friedle. I think he's like a very cute guy. And also I think he's just like really cool. Like I just really like him. So why not? But anyway, I did have to fast forward through a little bit because I was a little bored about this movie. But honestly, it's not the worst teen movie ever. Like, I don't know, it's not great, but I mean, it's not like the worst one, you know what I mean? I think there's a little bit worse, but this one doesn't work either a ton, though. Fun fact, too, it also has, like, the film debut of Charlotte Ayanna, also known as Liz Purr, from Jawbreaker. That's really fun. But anyway, this movie also has the distinct honor of being a movie that literally only made about $309 at the box office. And I don't know exactly why. I guess it was because I really only showed it one theater, I think. And I don't know what exactly happened with this movie for that to happen. Because to be honest, I feel like this movie, like I said, is not the worst teen movie ever. It's not a great one, but it's not terrible where I'd be like, oh, why did it only make $300? But there's always like more to that story when something like that happens. But yeah, this has the distinct honor of being one of those types of films. Okay. Anyway, but then after this, I watched Hard Candy from 2005 because it was on my Tubi watch list and it was going to go away. Because I started watching this and then I kind of lost it and then picked it back up. But Hard Candy is about Haley, played by Elliot Page, before they transitioned. And so they are a smart, charming teenage girl, Jeff, played by Patrick Wilson. He is a handsome, smooth fashion photographer. And as internet chat, a coffee meetup, and an impromptu fashion shoot back at Jeff's place, Jeff thinks it's his lucky night, and he's in for a surprise. So for anybody who doesn't know what Hard Candy is about, I mean, yeah, that's an understatement. I won't spoil it here, but, go Google it. I don't know. But I really liked this movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I gave it a heart. This movie is so crazy. And it doesn't even have that big of a cast. It's literally these two. Sandra Oh's in it for like a few minutes. And there's like some other lady in it. Jennifer Rhodes, I think her name is. She comes in near the end. But, this movie is so batshit. And it's so good, though. I really liked it. And, oh my God, just like, everything about it was just like really good. And it's so cool to see someone like Elliot Page, who of course loved them from Juno, right? Cause I really like that movie, but like seeing them, this is before Juno. And I mean, they fucking kill it, dude. So I really liked this movie a lot, actually. I thought it was really decent, and I enjoyed it. Anyway, so then after that, I decided to watch a little movie that has just come on Shudder. It's called Bad Things from this year. It is a movie done by Stuart Thorndike, who is the person who did the movie Lyle with Gabby Hoffman, which is kind of like a retelling of Rosemary's Baby in a way, kind of like a queer Rosemary's Baby. This is pretty much like a kind of queer take on something like The Shining. So a weekend getaway for a few friends at a snowy hotel becomes a psychological tailspin and a bloody nightmare. Now, I mean, I will say this. I don't think I liked this. I didn't like this a whole lot. I gave it a 1, and I would maybe give it a 1.5. Like, for me, I just didn't really care for this movie a ton. And unfortunately, I think that's what a lot of other people kind of feel a bit too. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really care that much about it. I even said, I said it's a crime to waste Hari Neff like this, especially since I just saw her in, the Barbie movie. It was awesome. Molly Ringwald's in this movie too. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just was like, I don't know. I maybe it's just me. I don't know. But like, I'm kind of tired of things being like referenced from The Shining. You know what I mean? I'm not the hugest Shining person ever anyway, but I don't know. I just don't think this movie worked for me. I did have a conversation with our girl Pickens from the podcast, and he actually liked it. So, your mileage may vary, but for me, it was kind of a no for me, dog. So, meh. Couldn't really get into it. Then after that, to cleanse my palate, I watched a little movie called Little Monsters from 2019, and not the one with Hallie Mandel. This one is with Lupita Nyong'o. This is a movie where a washed-up musician, played by Alexander English, I believe his name is. Alexander England. There you go. He teams up with a teacher, played by Miss Nyong'o, and a kids show personality, played by Josh Gad, to protect young children from a sudden outbreak of zombies. Now, this is an Australian film. It's like a horror comedy film, and your mileage could vary on it, I guess, but for me, I love this movie. I gave it a 5 when I first reviewed it. I give it a 4.5 now, but I still really like this movie. It has a great sense of humor with like the Australianness of it all. I think Lupita Nyong'o is so good at this film. She does such a good job at just like commanding this classroom of kindergartners and her class, really, but like also she's just so good. Oh, she's so good. I said, did this movie really just make me cry? And I said, you betcha, Iris. Because listen, there was like just a part in the movie where I was just like, it pretty much made me cry. So damn you, Little Monsters, whatever. But I just think this movie is so fun. I like it. You can go into this, and if you're a horror fan, you want that blood and gore, like all that kind of stuff, you're a zombie person, girl, get into this. I really liked it personally. It doesn't give me like, it's not like One Cut of the Dead or anything, but I mean, that is also a great movie too. This one for me, I also just really like. So yeah, pull up on Little Monsters, to be honest. And Girl That's Scary likes them. So they like that movie too. So what, if they like it, then, that's a good seal of approval in my book, Anyway, so then I took a couple days from not watching things that are movies. This might have been when I started my Degrassi watch, but I watched a little movie called Freeway, which I just did an episode on. Partly this is because I was slacking a little bit, and I was a little behind actually doing this, but Freeway, don't have to talk too much about it. It's pretty much a fucked up version of Little Red Riding Hood, with Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland at the front of it. And yeah, I mean, go listen to my episode about it, I guess. But like, I love Freeway. I gave it a 4, and I gave it like a heart. I really want to get my hands on the 4K of this. because I think it's a decent film. I think it's an interesting telling of a classic story. I think that it has some stuff to say, which I thought was really cool. And I think the performances are like dope as fuck. So I was really into all of it. So I was down, I really liked it. And, it's so accessible to people. Like, it's everywhere. It's streaming everywhere. So I definitely recommend it all the time because I just think it's a good movie. And it's, it's like a crime, dark comedy thing. But if you're into that, then go watch it, like I would definitely recommend it for sure. Then I watched a movie that's very well known. It was going off of the Criterion Channel because I watch something on the Criterion Channel almost every month, it seems like. But it was going off of the channel, so I decided to watch it finally. And I watched a little movie called The Graduate from 1967, done by Mike Nichols. And this movie is Benjamin, a recent college graduate played by a young Dustin Hoffman, is very worried about his future. He finds himself in a love triangle with an older woman played by Anne Bancroft, and then her younger daughter played by Catherine Ross. So, I mean, okay, I will say this. Like, I gave this a 3. This is a perfectly fine film. You know what I mean? Like, I like the performances from Anne Bancroft, who plays Mrs. Robinson, and Catherine Ross, who plays her daughter, because of their like icons. I mean, Anne Bancroft won a goddamn Oscar, if I'm not mistaken. And Catherine Ross is a great actress too. She's wonderful in the Stepford Wives original movie. And, it's fine. It's perfectly okay. Like, I did not care for Dustin Hoffman that much in this film, to be honest. I didn't really care about his character. Also, fun little, like, talking about Boy Meets World with Will Friedle a little bit. William Daniels, or Bill Daniels, who is Mr. Feeney, he's in this movie as the dad of Ben, played by Dustin Hoffman. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like, for me at least, it was fine. I mean, I don't think I'd watch it again, personally. I get it can be influential. I understand kind of why that is, but for me, I was just like, okay, that's what we had. All right, cool, I guess. But yeah, that's what I had to say about that. But yeah, your mileage will vary with it, I guess. But it was going off of Criterion, so I decided to watch it. But then I watched a little movie the same day, actually. I think it was the weekend. Watched a little movie that was on HBO Max, and it's called Shiva Baby from 2020, technically, I believe. This movie stars Rachel Sennett as a girl named Danielle, or Danny. She's a college student who attends a family shiva, where she is accosted by her relatives, outshined by her ex-girlfriend, and face-to-face with her sugar daddy and his family. So yeah, this is Rachel Sennett. It's like a early role for her. She's now been in like Bodies, and she's in the movie Bottoms and all this. So she's having a moment, but yeah, no, this movie I thought was great. I gave it a 4 from me. I mean, this is definitely kind of like an example of social or awkward cringe horror, if you will. Like, because this movie is not horror really, but it's anxiety inducing for a lot of folks and all that kind of stuff, which is cool. And I think that's kind of the horror of it. But yeah, and I mean, as somebody who's not a Jewish person, and I don't really know what the culture, even though I worked at a Jewish hospital for a while. But I am not familiar that much with just the customs of Judaism and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was really interesting, and I thought this movie was fairly successful in what it was trying to do, and I think it's also fairly accessible as a film. You kind of get what the fuck's going on, and even if you're not Jewish, obviously, I think you can still get something out of it, and just understanding that, this is like crazy and anxiety inducing for our main character, and just how it can be a lot. Yeah. I don't know how to explain what a Shiva is, but from what I can kind of gather, it's sort of an extended wake, if you will, after somebody has passed away, and all of that. But yeah, it was on Max. I decided to watch it, so why not? Then I got And then I decided to turn to, some of the pod friends. And I literally, like, I think I messaged like Jackson and Pickens together. I was like, what should I do? Like, or no, sorry, what should I watch or whatever? I was like, because I couldn't think of anything, you know what I mean? Because I still wanted to watch something. And so Pickens came through and he told me a few things to watch, but this was actually his suggestion. So thanks, girl. It's a little movie called Coherence from 2013. That's what I watched next. This is a movie where on the night of an astronomical anomaly, 8 friends at a dinner party experience a troubling chain of reality-bending events. That is the least you could say about it. There is so much to this film. I mean, I gave it a 3.5 overall and a little heart. But I did like this. This movie is very trippy and very mindfucky, if you will. And I did think it was really good. Just know that if you watch this, you may not completely understand what the fuck's going on, to be honest. But I was really fascinated by it, and I just also really liked the filmmaking of this film. It's not documentary style, but it feels handheld in a way. It just feels like really... It feels fascinating to me. I don't know. I thought it was a good movie. It's not going to be for everybody at all, but it's a little sci-fi. It's a little like, whatever the hell, but I did think it was an interesting movie to watch, and I'm glad I did. It has the distinct pleasure of also having a Buffy person in it. Nicholas Brendan, who played Xander, he is in this film as well. So he's kind of like the biggest name in it, I guess you could say. But and I think all the actors do a really good job too. So yeah. But Coherence, that was a nice little last minute pick, if you will. But I did that. And then to close out the month, I watched a little movie on Disney Plus. Because why the hell not? And I've been meaning to watch it because I wanted to listen to This Ends at Prom cover it on their show. It's an earlier episode of theirs. But I watched Ice Princess from 2005 with Michelle Trachtenberg. So this movie is about Casey, played by Michelle Trachtenberg. So the help of her coach, played by Kim Cattrall, her mom, played by Joan Cusack, and the boy who drives the Zamboni machine, played by Trevor Bloomis. Nothing can stop Casey from realizing her dream of becoming a champion figure skater. And I liked this. I mean, I gave it a 3.5. Again, I was generous in the 3.5s. But no, I really liked this. I thought Joan Cusack, of course, I love her and everything, but I thought she did a good job as Casey's mom. And it was just really fascinating to watch this movie. Hayden Panettiere's in it. And there's some good people in it. I love Michelle Trachtenberg. I thought she was great in this film. And I mean, yeah, like I think with this film in particular, it is kind of a weird little cult classic because the movie itself, I don't think did very well financially. And I think there are some people who kind of panned it when it came out, but there are people who really do like this film and they appreciate it for what it is. It's also low-key feminist as hell, which is cool. But like, yeah, I just thought like, that was cool. That was interesting. But yeah, I ended up watching this and I liked it. I think like for somebody who hadn't watched this film before, nor would I really have a reason to, I guess, I am glad I did. And it was a nice little G-rated, Disney movie just to end the month on, I guess. But yeah, I enjoyed it and I liked it. It doesn't hold a candle to my Freaky Friday. I will say that. I'm sorry, but because I love Freaky Friday, but it's also perfectly fine in its own right, too. It's from the same woman who wrote The Princess Diaries, which I also watched like last month. So, I thought it was perfectly fine. And it does its job, But yeah, y'all, that's what I watched this month. That is exactly what I watched. So for September, I don't know what I'm planning to watch, really. I mean, of course, I got to see what's streaming and all that kind of good stuff. We got some good stuff, planned on the show a little bit. I've done some pre-records, so I'm just going to have to edit some of those. But I do have some content coming up for you. And then we're only 1 month away from spooky season. So, of course, October, I'm probably going to be doing like a horror movie a day. Probably going to be doing that. And, that That'll be fucking crazy when I'm going to do what I watched in October. So that'll be fun. But if you like what you hear, just keep giving a listen to the rest of my back catalog for any episodes I've done. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next month.